Hey guys, I'm Samson.
My name is Eakin.
My name is Alina.
My name is Gloria.
And I'm Julia.
And I am Samuel.
I'm Jan.
I'm Kane.
And we are the 99.
99.
99.
The
99. 99.
The
99.
99.
99.
The 99.
99.
Hi guys, I'm Medi.
And I'm Julia.
I'm Payne.
And I'm Alina. And we are the
99.
And just a reminder why we're called the 99, it is just to, reach out back to the Christian, especially the Hmong Christian, and to remind them and encourage them in their faith and their walking journey with God.
Okay, hi guys. Hi everyone. Welcome back to our podcast. Today our episode's kind of interesting. It's gonna be a pretty, hopefully, interesting topic that a lot of us girls can talk about or relate to. So today our topic or a podcast is about the struggle that we often look as Hmong Christian, especially towards the Christian girls. You specifically for those who are struggling to commit to God, and regarding their relationship with a significant other. What does that make sense?
Can you clarify the question a little?
Sorry. So intentionally this is for those who are not committing to God because of the possibility that they may be married to a non-Christian. Like that. So we do know in our culture, especially in the Hmong culture, regarding the girls, is that once you get married, you usually, most of the time, you become their people, right? And you follow their tradition. You follow their religion, and regardless of if you are a Christian or if you are shaman, right? Once you get married, you are now forced to abide to their religion. And sorry.
So basically you're asking us what do we think about how when girls, right, they choose not to get married or they choose to not accept Christ because they think about their future in case the person they marry is not a Christian, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
So I personally think that your faith should not be predetermined by that kind of factor, right? I feel like if you say you're a Christian and you say you're going to, follow God and trust in God and, choose God, right? There shouldn't be that thought in the back of your mind still, right? That, I can't follow him because I still, what if my future husband is, what if he's not a Christian, right? Because then I'm thinking to myself, you can say that, right? But then there are so many other Christian guys out there, right? There's how they say there's a lot of fishes in the sea, right? There is a lot of Christian men out there, right? And then I also feel with our, I don't know about other churches, but just with our youth itself, right? I've seen a lot of our girls, who are Christian girls, right? And they dated someone who is a non-Christian man, and they were able to bring their boyfriends or their significant others, to church, right? And they were able to get them to convert. I know back then we had one of our band directors, right? She was born to a Christian family, right? And then her husband wasn't, and she was able to bring him, right? And then he's actually a pastor right now, right? And so it's times have changed, right? And I feel like we shouldn't use that as an excuse for why we can't commit to Christ.
I think another thing is like, let's say if like there's a girl, right, that we in the church who, if like the scenario is that they want to get baptized, but they're afraid to get baptized because of like potentially like, because they're in a relationship with like a non-believer, right? And they're too afraid they're too afraid of like the, not consequences, but like the aftermath of like if they get married to their non-believer boyfriend. So like for me, like for all of us, it's like, what advice or what can we like say to them, right, if that is something that concerns them, right? Because they want to commit to God, but at the same time, like they just feel like they can't because they're in a relationship with someone who doesn't believe in the same God as they do. So like, how would we advise them like with their relationship?
So, while my mates are, still gathering the thoughts, right? I do want to say that this really reminds me of, I don't remember exactly where in the Bible it is, right? But it basically reminds me of that one Bible verse where when Jesus came and Jesus was telling the people to follow them, right? Well, to follow him. And then one of the followers was like, oh, like, I'm going to follow you, God. But before I follow you, let me go bury my dad, right? And then Jesus said to them, like, let the dead bury the dead, right? And it just kind of reminds me of that because like Jesus said himself, like, where I go, there is no place for me to lay my head, right? And I feel like what he's basically saying is like, all of this is just temporary, right? My home is in heaven, right? And if you want to get to heaven one day, right, then you already know the answer, right? There now it just sounds like, as a girl, you're just making excuses, right? Because I feel like those who truly choose to follow God, right, there is no doubt, right? And if there is a doubt in your mind, then you basically have already planted the seed of doubt, right? Because those who faithfully follow, Christ, right, they truly know where it is that they want to go, right? They truly know what it is that they want in the long term, right? Because like even like here on earth, like let's say like me and like my significant other, right? Let's say like if he's not a Christian and I'm a Christian, right, and I choose to follow that route, right, either way at the end we're still gonna like die and we're still gonna like part, right? And if he chooses like to stay that way and if I choose to be like that with him, right, then we're basically at the end we don't see God, right? And if your goal is to make it to heaven, your goal is to see God, then do it, right? Because even in the Bible, it even tells us that even when we die, right, if we follow him truly, faithfully, both of us, right, then when we die, we will see each other again in heaven, right? So I feel like you have to remind people, like, what is the end goal, right? Are we living just for now while we're here on earth, or are we thinking of, like, our spirituality, like, long term?
I think, like, for me, I think especially in, like, the Hmong community and how, like, I guess we could talk about, like, tradition and stuff like that, where like how we were saying, or like I was saying earlier about like in the Hmong culture, like as the girl, right, once you get married, you're no longer like, you have to like abide by like your significant other's like religion or like the things that they do. And I feel like it is a hard like question because I don't think a lot of us on this like right here right now have like really truly experienced that. But I know that there is like a lot of like Hmong Christian girls out there who do go through this and are in relationship with specifically, like I know like a lot of Hmong girls and everyone out there, it's not just regarding like different races or things like that, but specifically like if we're talking about like the Hmong culture, I think it is harder because we are like faced with like the expectation that to follow these like traditions, right? And it's hard to kind of break it because of what society has put on us as females in the Hmong community, and I think it is something that we are trying to like move forward and trying to like I guess like you could say like break. And like it is definitely hard because, you know, it's like a part of me, you know, is definitely agree with like, oh, the Bible does say, you know, let the dead bury the dead. And it also talks about how that we shouldn't serve like two masters. And I think that is the hard part, is where Hmong Christian girls who go off and get married, like I think a part of them is, you know, they do still want to like go to church and participate in church like events and stuff like that, but it's hard because like you're now like you don't have that same freedom that you have had before in the past.
That's what I mean. Like, I feel like I know like I'm the oldest one out of all you guys, but I feel like that's such old school thinking.
Yeah, it definitely
right?
is.
Because I feel like I get it. It's hard because like, you know, we are Hmong, right? But I also feel like these days you have girls who are in like really advanced like fields in their like education and the careers and stuff. I feel like you should be able to choose what you want to do. Like, especially when it comes to your faith, right? I feel like there is no excuse, right? And if you're going to make excuses, like, it's like I like tell like my siblings, you know, I tell them like, okay, well, you can, but you guys know the Bible, right? You guys know, you know, Christ, you guys know all of it, right? And so it's like, okay, so then what are you could tell me that, right? But like when you die and you go and you see God and God questions you, are you going to give him the same reason, right? And it's kind of like you have to have that mindset, like, because it's not really like when I talk to my siblings, it's not me you have to answer to, it's God, right? But I do want to know what, you know, like Alina thinks, because I know that she does have like some experience in this kind of stuff, and so I just want to like know like how did she overcome it, like what was she thinking,
like, how did you feel during
So I did date a Hmong guy who didn't go to church, and now he comes to our church, so it's like woo, right? But I feel like it was really hard, like, because sometimes like you would think like you really love God, but then you would think like, but I also really love him, right? And so then it gets difficult, because then you're like, okay, you're a little like heartbroken because you feel like you have to choose in between like your partner or God, you know? And then like, it's so heartbreaking because, you know, the person that you love doesn't know the God that you love, you know? So I feel like it gets really hard, and like the values, everything, it's really different. And honestly, my mom and like all my family members, they would tell me that don't date him because I'm just gonna get married into his family, and I'm gonna have to do shaman stuff. They still tell me until this day that like oh yeah, like you're gonna have to learn how to do this and that because you're gonna have to go marry into his family, right? Because my partner, he converted, but his family hasn't converted yet, so he's the only one in his family that has converted. So like my mom always tells me that even though he converts, it's gonna be difficult because his family doesn't think the same as like we do, right? And it's hard because not only was I conflicted with choosing between him and God, but I also was hurt because all the people around me like kind of like made me feel like
like instead of supporting you, they were giving you doubts and
Yeah, like it's
So like it was like a lost cause kind of thing.
yeah. So, sorry. So it gets really hard, but like you cry at night, you pray because it's like you love God, but you love your partner. So, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, guys. And I feel like I can't give like a straight advice to the girls out there, cause I feel like I wasn't a super strong believer. I wasn't those girls who went to church every single day, read the Bible, or like stuff like that. It was just more like I had the love for God, you know, like I had the passion. I was just like, I wasn't consistent, you know? Mm-hmm. So like, I feel like a good way to start is, to trust God, because, even though like, I was conflicted between God and my partner, I always made it clear to myself that at the end of the day, I would want to fully and completely love God, right? And it's really funny because I remember like the first month I dated my partner, like I was telling him, oh yeah, like I really want a guy who loves God more than I love God, you know? A guy who will push me to become a better person, and like, you know, like like I really wanted someone like that, right? Even though like I wasn't a strong believer, I knew in my heart that that's what I wanted. So like, I made it really clear to him. I feel like I'm kind of going off topic. Okay. But I did pray a lot. I feel like back then I wasn't very confident in my relationship, or like in Christ and stuff like that. So I didn't reach out, but I feel like definitely reach out to your sisters in Christ, even your brothers in Christ too. Like I feel like definitely reach out to them, because they can guide you, you know. I know like I didn't have that guidance, but I feel like when I talk to my cousins and them who do date people who are out, that are not Christian, I feel like I love like just telling them or like guiding them, because I didn't have that guidance. So I feel like definitely reach out to your sisters in Christ and also pray, because that's what I did. And don't like, in a way, like give up, because I feel like no matter what, I had my eyes on Christ. No matter what, no matter how much I loved my partner, I always had my heart on Christ. I feel like that's why it's a little different, because I feel like sometimes it's a little hard, because Hmong girls, or like in relationships, you really love your partner and it gets really hard. I feel like the only difference with me was because I really loved Christ. Even though I didn't really know much, I knew that I really loved him. And so then I feel like that's what made my relationship with my partner like kind of turn, you know. Sorry, guys. I feel like it kind of like went off track, but.
Did you have anything to say, Ju?
Well, I'm not really experienced in this type of field, so. But I think when I reflected a lot, you know, I don't think it's just with relationship, but like in life in general, like just listening to you guys talk, a lot of time we limit God, We limit the thing that he can do in our life, whether it is, you know, our relationship with our significant other, or, you know, our careers, or the hardship that we have in life. And we tend to forget that, you know, God is all knowing and all powerful. So why do we limit him and limit our belief that, because I'm in love with a non-Christian person, I can't become a Christian, because then of like culture wise. No, like I think God is so much bigger than culture and love, you know, because God is love himself, you know. And if you truly believe in God, you know, and I believe like stories like Alina and so many other, you know, girls who have brought their, you know, significant others to church, I really believe, you know, it's because they have faith, they have trust, you know. And you never know who you're going to end up with, you know, like maybe you are the salt and light for that person to bring that person to church, you know. And maybe your ministry is your significant other by bringing them to Christ. So I feel like relationship wise, and why some Hmong girls are so passive about Christianity is because I feel like they don't know God enough, and they don't have that trust. Because when you don't know God enough, obviously you will doubt, you know. And we always have this saying that, you know, yes, Christianity is a religion, but more of a religion, it's a relationship. And when you get to know God, and, you know, you are consistently, I get that reading the Bible is hard, but it's really helpful. In reading the Bible and having, you know, that Christ community, it really helps strengthen your faith, and it really gets you to know God and how amazing and how powerful he is. So like for girls who are struggling in their walk in faith because their significant other is not, I just want to say, fear not, because God is not limited, you know. Maybe God is working in your guys' relationship and having you bringing him, you know. And just like Mary was saying, our previous band director, you know, she was not a strong Christian herself, you know, but she was someone, because she grew up as a Christian, she still holds some values, and her husband saw that. And her husband wasn't a Christian man, but because her husband saw of the value that she hold, her husband got curious, and now he became a pastor, and now he became a stronger believer than she is, and she is to lead him, but now he is leading her. Like maybe that is what God have in plan for you, and you never know. So I say don't limit God, and if you truly love that person, go for it. I don't think God is gonna force you to choose a relationship, you know. And as long as you put God in the middle of your relationship, I think that, you know, if you truly trust and follow God, and if that person is really the one for you, then go ahead and, you know, follow Christ fully and just trust in him.
I do want to say that, going back to Pink's question about the baptism thing, I feel like as a Christian, right, before you baptize, right, and not even talking about relationships with someone like Christian, not Christian, I feel like even if you don't have a significant other, right, or like anything like that, I feel like before you can baptize, you have to understand what baptism really is, right? And it is a commitment, right? And so I feel like don't use like the relationship as a reason why you don't get baptized, right? But know truly yourself, like that you are ready to get baptized, right? And I think that's one of the things that is like misconceptualized, right? Is that people just get baptized if they're a Christian, right? It's that's not what it is, right? It is a commitment. It is something that, you know, you give yourself to Christ. And so it's not even looking at the relationship aspect of you and someone else, but it's more of the relationship between you and God.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's not just with baptism, but, you know, coming to God. I feel like girls, and not just Hmong girls or, you know, girls in general, I think a lot of people, the reason why they don't want to come to Christ is because they fear of missing out on life, because they feel like following Christ, there's just so much rules, and the fun that you think of is not going to be fun with Christ, you know. And I think that is totally wrong, you know. Like, you're not missing out anything. In fact, if you think that you're missing out on the sinful thing. So when you're following Christ, you're really not missing out. It's the reason why God is telling you, you know, to not do these things is it's for your own benefit. It's just like your parents, when you were young, your parents said, oh, don't eat too much sweet, because obviously eating too much sweet is bad for you. And like I said, you shouldn't limit God, and you shouldn't limit yourself, you know, from knowing someone so amazing and powerful. Like, that person can, like, God can change you for the better, and you're not missing out on anything. You're not missing out on partying, drinking, clubbing, or even sex, because I feel like sex is such a big thing in this world, or in this time now, where people, sex before marriage. You're not missing out on that. You're not missing out on anything. Anything good, God is saving it for you, and God is going to continue guiding and leading you. So I feel like people, or like Hmong girls, should not be afraid or hesitate to fully commit, because you're not missing out on anything, sis. You're really not.
Also, just want to kind of bounce off of like Alina, where like for like an example for us to kind of think about, we kind of have been like answering this, but like let's say specifically there is like a girl who's in our church, right, who's, we can say, let's paint this scenario as she is a leader, or she is like very active, but she's in a relationship with like a non-believer, and she gets married, and she comes to you, right, let's say specifically you, and she asks for like advice, or like how would we respond, or like how would we advise her, or be honest with her, and like how would you feel?
I feel like advice wise, I feel like what Alina said earlier, right? There's not much advice you can get, but I feel like the one thing that we can do, like as sisters in Christ, is to pray, right? I feel like that's one of like the most powerful things that we can do, is just to pray for her, right? Because I feel like if she is a strong leader, right, and she is that active, in the church, right, then I feel like she already is like aware, of these things, and so I feel like it's like I said, girls, we have girls these days who are able to bring their guys into the church and convert, right? And the thing is, I know about the Hmong culture and I understand the whole thing, but it's like you still are creating your own family, right? And so it's, in the end, it's you and your husband, right? And in the end, you have to think about, I know a lot of people are like, oh, I can be a Christian and you can be a shaman, it's okay. But then it's like when your kid gets sick, right? Where do you go? Do you go to do the prayers, or do you go and like hoopli, right? And so it's not as easy as, oh, you believe your thing, I believe my thing. It's like you guys really do have to like believe
make
the
a
same
decision,
thing, right?
like,
and I feel like she should be able to bring him, right? Because I'm like, a lot of times I think what happens is that Christianity, right, it gets so misinterpreted in society today, right? They think that, oh, you're a Christian, you're supposed to be, like flawless, right? But they don't understand that as Christians, we're Christians because we're sinners, right? And we come to God because we know we're sinners, right? And I think when you show the guy like what Christianity really is like, right, I think it does pique their interest, right? And I feel like you are able to bring them, right? Because I think there is that curiosity in them, right? And like my thing is like when like I told like my sister, because she was dating someone who was also like not a Christian, right? I told her like, oh, what does he think, and then she told me what he thought. I'm like, well, he's misunderstanding it, right? Like, why don't you bring him to church, right? And that's why it's so important for us to build such strong youth men in our youth group, right? It's because they are what's gonna bridge that, right? They are what's gonna keep them here, right? I have seen a lot of youth, right, they stay because they have a great connection to one another, right? And I think that you just have to take that leap of faith, right? Like Julia said, God is not limited, right? But you won't know until you try, right? Bring them, right? Bring them to church. Let them see, not just one time, but consistently come and see like what God is really like, right? Because I feel like a lot of times, a lot of the Hmong shamans, they just don't understand what Christ really is like.
I feel like going back to what Ping also said, how would we feel, or what advice would you? I feel like the first thing, my first reaction would be like, oh my gosh, like I'm scared for you, because we know girls, some girls are a little more emotional than others, and obviously my first reaction would be like, girl, I'm so scared for you, like you better not lose your way, like you can't, But then at the same time, I'm also like reminded of like the many miracles God does in people relationship, and maybe I think it's just like I think we can all agree that it definitely has to do with prayer, and you constantly, and not just prayer, but you constantly have to show support, you know, like, because like Alina said, she didn't have that good support, so she was often doubting. I feel like we shouldn't cause another sister to fall just because she is strong. Just because they are strong doesn't mean they can always be strong, you know, because we have our ups and our downs. So we should always encourage them, you know, oh, like, you got this, continue praying. If there's anything you're going through, let us know. We'll pray, or, you know, we can come and do a gathering for you and warm your house. I feel like those are really helpful, and to just remind them that, oh, just because they're not dating or marrying someone who is a Christian, they shouldn't be left out. They should be even more included, so that you can strengthen their faith and also help them, so that when they are going through a tough time, they can still be a salt and light to their significant other. And I feel like if you yourself are, you know, a strong believer, and you know that you are in love with someone who is not a believer, I feel like this is really a big test for you to see your love for God, to see your faith, and because then it may really make you realize, how much do I love God, you know? And if I love God so much, I should go and save another of his sheep. And going back, it's about like the 99. While you are, you know, being a salt and light, and that person is your ministry, you are also doing your own ministry and reevaluating yourself of your relationship with Christ. Because if your relationship with Christ is strong and remain rooted, I believe that, you know, God will continue to work and bring that person to church, or bring that person to believe in him.
I kind of wanted to go into more what Maddie said. My partner, he's a really friendly guy, right? And I feel like an advice I could give is show them why you love God, right? Because when he came to church for the first time, everyone was greeting him, and he's like, I don't even know these people. Like, why are they so nice to me? Why are they like talking to me like we're like friends, right? And so, like, I feel like after he started coming more, he started realizing that we all thought of each other as brothers and sisters, and we love each other so much because we all love God, you know? Yeah. We all have that one thing in common. And I feel like he even has such strong friendships in the church.
Too strong these days.
Yeah, I feel like it's even stronger than mine. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I knew these people longer than you. And like, he's like really good friends, right? And it's, when I see that, it really makes me glad, because you know, all those nights that I cried, you know, all those nights that I prayed, it's like it paid off, right?
It was not in vain.
Yeah. It was worth it, right? All those nights I cried to God, like, oh my gosh, like, what am I gonna do? Like, I was like, I can't cook. What am I gonna do? Right? But like, I'm just really thankful, right? 'Cause like, I see the love that he has for God, right? And it reminds me that like it really does, like, 'cause sometimes, like, even sometimes I like forget, right? And so like, to see that he has grown so much to the point where he would remind me, it really makes me like really happy, because I'm like,
This is
wow.
what I've been praying for.
Yeah, I was like, wow, I need to step up. I was like, I need to step up, right? But like you said, Julia, it's like, I guided him, but now he's leading me. He's guiding me, right?
Yeah.
And it makes me really happy, because, like, sorry, it makes me really happy, because it's like,
He'd been saved.
right, it's like all those hardships, it's over.
I think it is a really, like, a good thing, right? And like, you know, praise God for it, right? I know like girls, like especially in like the Hmong community, like just to kind of wrap things up, there's always gonna be it'll be harder on like the Hmong girls, like especially someone who's gonna, you know, want to be with someone who's not a Christian, right? Or, you know, of a different religion. But just like how all of you guys were talking about, it isn't the end. Like if you really want to like pursue God, right? Then pursue God, right? And like you just gotta, like, even though it's not instant, right? Like you could ask for a prayer and hope that, you know, your significant other will like turn and like as quickly as possible, right? Because then you're like, okay, that's easier on us. But the truth is, like, for some girls and maybe most girls, like, it's gonna be a long journey. But like how Julia and all of you guys are talking about, it's about consistency with prayer and like, you know, remaining like faithful in God. And there will be a time where, you know, God will, you know, move and turn his way, right? So I think just to encourage all of you guys that it's not the end. Like, remain firm in your faith, right? Let's not be passive, right? Because the God that we serve, the God that we believe in, isn't a passive God. But it's just a way for us to encourage you guys, and we just want to say thank you for just tuning in into our episode. I hope that this can encourage all of you guys out there. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We also have an Instagram and also a Facebook page, so check us out there too. And hope to see you guys next time. Bye.